23.
Last night, as I sat watching Henrietta and Myrna Newdorf's rendition of Go Tell It on the Mountain over and over again, as one does, I had the extraordinary idea of doing something a little more lighthearted than I normally do. After about my third or fourth go-round, I decided that I should make a video showcasing some of my favorite YouTube songs that are so bad that they are, not just good, but more than that, they are almost magical. Enchanting may be one word more appropriate. Acts like the Newdorfs and Jan Terry, and let's not forget this guy,
Touch my body, put me on the floor, bless me around, play with some more.
would be showcased as some of my favorite go-to marvels. I made the mistake, though, of clicking onto a playlist of quote-unquote bad songs headed by the Newdorfs. It turned out to be a blessed mistake, because the very next song that came on had me playing it repeatedly for well over the next 5 hours. With every listen, I became more and more enthralled. I found myself so fascinated that I opted to make an entire video just about this one song. Now I want to get something very straight here. Everything I have to say here tonight is strictly for entertainment. I do not wish to offend or slander anyone. I have the utmost respect for both the producer of this video and the artist featured here tonight. It is because of these peculiarities, which I shall point out, that make this piece so appealing to me. This is by no means a bad song. It has a striking melody, written by a talented artist. But it is the subpar production quality overall that makes this piece seem, well, a bit odd. As I sat rewatching, it wasn't long before I started to notice some things that seemed a bit off. Suddenly, a complete hidden story began to unfold itself to me. Was this guy singing about someone that left him, and now he's heartbroken over the loss? Or did this man do the unthinkable? It didn't matter anymore if I was trying to push the narrative. Nay, every time I went back to check to see if there was something to contradict what I was seeing, I only found evidence, though circumstantial, to back my growing insanity. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you this evening with a tragic story of love lost and loneliness gained, and a possible cover-up. Could this woman be the victim of love with a bite? Could Mark Gormley be trying to tell us something because the guilt of it all is just too much to bear? Or could I possibly just be going out of my goddamn mind? I am your host, Mask, and you are watching Connect the Dots. Before we get started, no, I'm not going to tell you about NordVPN, and no, I'm not going to tell you about Dollar Shave Club, and I'm certainly not going to tell you about BetterHelp. Actually, I'd like to get a bit more personal with you than that, so that you may better understand why I have such an obsession over this work of art. Everyone dreams a little differently. The dreams that I have are not reoccurring in a sense that I have dream repeats, but more so that the places and events that happen in them stay the same. Like in this world, there are routines that are repeated. Going to work, going to school, going to visit grandmother. But when I get home in my dreams, after every dream day, when I'm done with all my little dream errands, I like to retire to my bedroom and turn down all the lights. There is a special tape I have, and a VCR. I turn the volume low so that no one can hear it but me. I fast forward it, or rewind it to the spot, whichever the case may be, and there she is. I once knew her, but now she is no more. As the light shines on me from the television in this dimly lighted room, I sit there in my underwear, and I watch with excitement and expectation. Sunlight creeps through the cracks of my blanket-covered window because I sleep during the day and I work at night in dreams. I watch it with fear, knowing that someone, anyone, may knock on my door at any time. The fear of being caught is just one of the worst fears I have ever felt. The smart thing to do is to destroy the rest of the evidence so that nobody else can ever see it. But I can't. It's just too damn valuable. Besides, the fear of being caught isn't the only horrible feeling. To know that you're still here, still breathing, still eating, still lying comfortably in your bed while someone else has been snubbed from the face of the earth at your hand for purely selfish and insignificant reasons is just, well, fucked up. I know I have this souvenir in my dreams. It is the last one. The others have all decomposed and have been disposed of, and nobody has ever found the remains of any of them in my dreams. This one, however, is the most damning piece of evidence there is. It was the one that I filmed. I was there. I made it happen. I have the tape labeled as something else, and I keep this section hidden somewhere in the middle, where there is a whole bunch of stuff before it and a whole bunch of stuff after it. I don't think anyone would just accidentally find it. These dreams started a little over 15 years ago, and they started with me creating this tape and doing the things that I did to her on it, and well, keeping other souvenirs from other dates I went on. The dreams became so frequent, sometimes it was hard to tell reality from dream. Suddenly, I was questioning everything that had happened up until then. Were there any blank spots in my memory? No, I don't think so. Was there any missing time? No. Were there memories I was trying to suppress? Do I actually have this tape buried in my closet somewhere? I began to long to see this footage with my own two real eyes. I wondered if I could replicate it somehow safely, like with acting. When I first started seeing some of Meat Sleep's earlier work, I felt the need satisfied slightly. It gave me the feels. This is the same reason I started listening to Vaporwave. I could really viddy myself listening to Resonance by Home, while going through an entire empty suburb of homes early in the morning, so as I could find a good place to hide until the moon comes up. I think I automatically get these feels now, this dreamy sense of wonder whenever I see VHS-looking footage like Losing You or Go Tell It on the Mountain. But all those fish were blown clear out of the sea when I heard and saw Mark Gormley.
Here I sit with a cigarette burning all alone, and you're not.
Upon first glance, if you stumble upon this internet oddity, you may chuckle and watch as this seemingly docile middle-aged man belts out his low-budget sounding homemade power ballad, shifting awkwardly as he does before a bad green screening. You may gasp as you watch the spliced-in home movies of a woman clearly uncomfortable that she is being filmed. You may think to yourself, well, I guess I'm on that side of YouTube again, and move on. This is just some old dude that can't get it up anymore, right? And now he's crying in the night because his average but younger girlfriend left him for some Puerto Rican masseuse named Pablo. Well, what if I told you songs often have two meanings, and we must also remember that the editor puts in what he wants the audience to see. Always remember that. Now what if I were to tell you that I think this music video has a much darker, more sinister meaning behind it than what one might think upon first glance? What happens when we take a closer look at what is going on in each scene and compare it to what is actually being said in the lyrics? Let us do this, for argument's sake, and because I think it's fun. Firstly, the video is being introduced by the producer of the video, the insatiable,
the adventurous,
sensational,
the persuasive,
delectable,
keeper of the archive,
Phil Thomas Cat.
space happy.
This guy had to gather all the elements to make this video.
This is a great song. It's very, very intense. We tried to make the music video that way as well.
He's the one most likely responsible for all of the editing, as well as getting and filming the actress.
Here's Mark Gormley and Without You on the Uncharted Zone.
Before the words start, we see a montage of a woman wandering upon a gloomy seashore, as well as some wooded area not far away. This is mingled with some more desolate images, such as a bridge, a vast snowy expanse, and even and especially some shots of the desert. Both the seashore and the desert can be symbols of loneliness, anguish, and death. We even go so far as to see two small boats which belong on the water, but they are in the desert. One part of great interest to me is this part right here, when it shows the road curve around a mountainside, and then there is a flash of light. It reminds me of the whole idea of the light at the end of the tunnel when you're on that highway to heaven. This happens once more later in the video with a different image of the road. The more we see this girl, the more we begin to feel her unease. It's like someone paid her way too little money to be there, or like she's beginning to regret that she ever signed up for Tinder. He is an average-looking man, perhaps someone's dad or uncle, or that quiet neighbor that always seemed so nice and respectable.
He was just an all-around great guy, great personality.
As the words start, we see a middle-aged man standing on snowy hills, surrounded by clouds, belting out the lyrics.
Here I sit with a cigarette burning, all alone, and you're not here.
So is she not here in the sense that she left him? Or could this mean something more physical and sinister? On the screen behind Mark is a ghostly image of a woman walking atop a frozen lake. Her reflection is cast from the ice. This is just an image taken from the web, but it's the visual that is important, what it symbolically could suggest. It shows her when he says, "You're not here."
All alone, and you're not here.
But this is the only time we see him in frame with a woman, except for the part coming up, which is shown in a different context. This one is shown in a hyper-realistic manner, as if she's actually behind him, where the later, as you soon shall see, is the actual girl in the video, but contexted as more of a memory. But before we get to that line,
All by myself and no one to talk to.
when someone commits murder, it can weigh very heavily upon their mind, leaving them feeling alone with no one they can confide in. I am sure this leads credence to the fact that so many deliberately become more daring in effort to get caught.
Without you, girl, it's all I can do.
This he says while we are shown an in-screen clip next to him of the girl in the video turning her head towards the ocean and to his direction. The next line is where it starts to get even more interesting, but the build-up to this line makes it all the more. Now keep in mind that we already said that the sea and the desert are both symbols of death and the beyond. Typically, if you throw a stone into the water, it ripples. Yes, the same with a dead body. I have to ask myself with excitement, why does it show a ripple effect in the desert? Was something tossed into an ocean of sand? What's noticeable here is the use of the word lie.
With the night and your things telling lies, not there, so beware of love with a bite.
Knowing that I packed your things up and lie. Is this word being used as a verb, as if he means to lie to everyone about why she's left him? This even does not sound noble.
With the night and your things telling lies.
At first I thought it could mean, if looked at in a certain way, that he was lying to people, telling them she packed up her things and left.
I'm gonna buy his lemonade, Sheriff.
Can I look in the house?
She only took the one suitcase.
When it was really him that packed them up to cover up a much darker truth. But a colleague of mine pointed out that it could be the kind of lie that is used to dispose of dead bodies. When he says this, he is standing in the middle of the desert. What the hell is he doing out here? And then suddenly, Roll to Tomorrow makes me think about the afterlife. That he is wishing her soul off to a better place, like heaven. And Girl Without Feeling makes me again think about the corpse he is talking to. He does say this while standing on the shoreline, where the earth meets with the great beyond. And there is a very suspicious patch of woods directly behind him. As the chorus rings along, Mark is walking towards us through a very dark and creepy wooded area. Nervously, he glances over his shoulder like he's just got finished dumping off a damn dead body. He continues his strut until he comes back to the beach. We are given many more images. We get to see the girl, again, walking down the beach with her back to what would be the direction he is standing, and then leaning up against a tree. Did I mention this girl looks like she does not want to be here? I love how she glances over real quick and we see this spooky looking cabin out in the middle of nowhere. And then she smiles, baring all her teeth. This is known as the fear grin. It happens to most people when they are experiencing something unexpectedly uncomfortable, like a bad joke on a blind date, or even something more physical, like a mugging. There are a number of reasons this could happen, ranging from the complete unbelievability of the situation, to the idea of trying to hide one's own defenses, lest danger falls upon them. This girl looks like she's bracing herself for something. I've seen women being sold at auction less afraid. What in the hell? What is this? I mean, okay, so forget my whole bullshit murder story for just a sec. For real, so I'm Mr. Cat here.
The persuasive.
Right? And Mr. Gormley asks me to make a music video for a song he wrote years ago. And I get him to stand in front of a green screen and have him gum the words of the song out to you. I splice in different images, record a shady video with a budget actress, we've all been there. And then I'm gonna edit this actress in to try to show, like, memories or something. Like, what memories? Okay, I can see, oh, la da da, this is the time we went on the date on the beach, and then, oh, that time we went to the bar and you got up in your underwear and everybody cheered. I mean, where does this come from anyways? Look, here's the second time we see the road with the flash of light. This is actually the third time we see a road. The first being a snowy road, and I for some reason apply this to the cold loneliness that the singer feels. The two roads with the light are dry desert-looking roads. The one at the beginning is cold and covered in snow, snow being what Mark is standing on when we first meet him. My favorite part comes when the lyrics start up again. Against his backdrop, the lunar halo, like some demon king, Dracula or the great red dragon, he bears down at us in a scolding manner. Yet the smile in his eyes tells us he knows he has the upper hand. The phrase pulling a point is a strange one. Almost immediately, I am struck with the thought of winning points like in a game for sport. Notches on a gun. But when I googled, all I could find had to do with making glass pipes. Putting another prize on the wall. Trophies are prizes, and the first wall trophies I can think of are animal heads. We're getting into some real Ed Gein level shit now, folks. Now this part here, I cannot lie. This part, ladies and gentlemen, is the part that started me down this rabbit hole to begin with. The first few times I watched this, I didn't think much of it, despite its underdeveloped production quality, and Mr. Gormley's extraordinarily average appearance. At first I only thought it to be some interesting, homemade music video with a catchy tune. But this part kept screaming creep to me. We see Mark standing in front of an apartment complex, as he sings "Don't Play Around With My Affections, Woman." This raises red flags for me, because I've seen plenty of movies where some obsessed person is saying some generic line similar to this to the object of their obsession. In fact, this contradicts the whole idea that the first and second verse were anything but sinister, combined with the next part. According to Google, the lyrics here say someone you know, not someone you call, meaning like I'd rather go steady than to be a booty call. But with the overall tone and finality in the first two verses, this just doesn't make any sense to me. One cannot negotiate with someone that is not there. No, this whole thing sounds more like a warning to me, or a threat. Even more so when I take into account that I do believe Google is wrong about the lyrics. If you listen closely, he says, "Someone you know will not come when you call." That's a whole extra syllable at will. I have even found covers of the song on YouTube supporting my claim. What does this line even mean? To me, and especially combined with the apartment complex in the background, it makes me think this guy's going to be hiding there somewhere waiting for this girl to get home from the grocery store or from visiting Pablo. The whole part just seems so suspicious to me, peculiar even. It was this inception that had me looking at the entire video differently now, in this abnormal light. I just couldn't help but not look at everything else more sinister. Again, during the chorus, we see Mark strutting through the woods, and again he nervously glances over his shoulder. He actually looks like he caught the eye of that really hot chick off camera. For real, why didn't they edit that out? Like they just used the same clip from the first chorus and slapped it on top of some different creepy trees. What made them decide not to redo that scene? Now wait just a damn minute. So I'm here in the editing room, and I believe I've made an important discovery during the process. I seem to have been mistaken about them using the same piece of footage. Comparing the clips from these two choruses, I have discovered that they are both different. One can plainly see that when he turns his head back to the camera, he does so at a slightly different angle. This means that the head turn was deliberate. But why? What does this mean? Is this supposed to be some sort of hint or clue to something? What the hell is he looking at? This has suddenly become much more sus in my opinion. Let me know down in the comments what you think he's looking at or why you think he did this. I will now release you back to the program. The last montage is made to look as if we're traveling to space. These shots only make sense to me if we're saying she is now among the stars. First, we see telescopes looking towards the heaven. As we zoom out of the solar system, we see that light glare again. We are with her, in flight as she leaves this world. But then we see a lunar module landing on the moon. Who's in that module and why? We see Mark then standing on a lunar base as he finally proclaims, It sounds to me like he is almost mocking the fact that she is dead and he is still alive. That he's staying alive almost because she is gone. I know it's probably meant to be interpreted as he'll go on living after she's dumped him, but that's not usually how lost love songs go. It would make so much more sense to me from a poetic standpoint if throughout the song he were saying he would survive, but then at the end still note that it would be a difficult task seeing that he still loves her. But this song does not do that. In fact, it does almost the complete opposite. What the hell is going on here? In the book Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, the character Francis Dollarhide is obsessed with the painting, The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed in Sun by William Blake. He believes that he becomes the dragon by covering himself in the blood of his lady victims on nights when the moon is full, so that he can go into their backyard and see what his blood-soaked flesh looks like under the moon. According to Hannibal, it is black.
Have you ever seen blood in the moonlight? It appears quite black.
The moon is the most important part of this ritual to him. He, in a sense, worships the moon. Let us not forget that the moon has always been synonymous with insanity. This is where we get the word lunatic from. Before I leave, I'd really like to thank Mr. Gormley for making this song, and Mr. Cat for allowing me to use and talk about this video. I made this analysis partly in jest, and partly as a demonstration of how easy it is to let the mind create a false reality out of mere coincidences. Now, I'm sure these guys are just honest content creators, trying to bring us a vision only the best they can. Mark has been writing songs since the 70s, and Phil Thomas Katz's Uncharted Zone started out as a public access show, acting as a platform for artists that probably wouldn't have had very much exposure elsewhere. Mark Gormley is now considered an internet sensation. This wouldn't have happened if not for the unstoppable Phil Thomas Katz. I leave you now with the relief that there really is no cover-up, at least not that I know of. This song is most likely just what it seems to be. A fun little tune about a broken heart. Perhaps what I've seen in it only speaks volumes about my own psyche. I have been your host, Mask, and I thank you for watching.
The Uncharted Zone, the most important music television show along the Gulf Coast.